now going ahead on this, our chief guest by Professor K. Purushottam Reddy sir, who is an eminent environmentalist with a long and legendary span of work in a truly activist spirit. Sir's long public life and activism set across environmental policies, public policies, sustainable development, agriculture, urban studies, and restoration of damaged ecosystems. Sir stands to be the foremost icon of the environmentalism, stood a synonym for it in Telugu and land, and his PhD was on environmental policy and education and investigate analysis of eco-degradation in Andhra Pradesh. So with this, I request Shri Professor K. Purushottam Reddy sir to address the gathering. Thank you, sir.
Respected Rameshwarrao garu, my sister Leela Lakshmareddy garu, Adevidanga Lakshmareddy garu, Professor Narasimhareddy garu, distinguished elder and my inspiration, Professor D.V. Reddy garu. We have an environmental poet also, Mallikarjun Reddy garu, and one of our distinguished friends who is working in America, Keshav, and so many, Dr. Upendra Reddy, and the whole gathering is full of luminaries. I would like to thank each one of them, Dr. Sai Bhaskar Reddy, Uma Maheshwar Reddy. It's a big opportunity for me to share a few ideas because we are at a crucial juncture in our long march. I'm talking about the sapiens. Right now, our species is face to face with sixth mass extinction. There is no guarantee of a tomorrow. Situation is very horrible, but I am not here to scare the youngsters. Yes, if all of us decide, and if the great majority of the people throughout the world living in so many countries, if they can come together and exercise their pressure, and if they can prevail on their governments, release the governments from the clutches of the corporates, then definitely a more dynamic, sustainable policies can be followed. Because what's happening right now is that the nations of the globe they are attending this conference of parties, and the 27 times so far, the whole world has been meeting on a very important topic, and that is climate change. This kind of a thing never happened before. On one single topic, when the whole world meets almost on an annual basis, trying to understand the emerging technologies, trying to find solutions, trying to crystallize public opinion at the global level, and slowly, inch by inch, we are all moving. I'm not here to say that nothing has been done. Let us realize that at multi-level activities are going on. On one side, you find people trying to sensitize the society. We can see the greening of political parties and also political processes in several countries of the world. This we have to recognize. We are also a witness to the greening of the educational syllabus. Environment as a subject is part of the curriculum throughout the world. There is no choice. We have to adjust, each one of us have to adjust our lifestyle, our entire aspirations, and try to live a life which recognizing the constraints of modern times. Therefore, friends, for the benefit of all the youngsters, I am happy all of you have come. I do not intend to repeat the often repeated path, but it's my duty to remind you that this entire debate of environmentalism, it started with Rachel Carson. So paying respects to her contribution and to her most important book, The Silent Spring, I request all the youngsters, now that you are all equipped with technologies, you can connect through YouTube and internet, So you start with Rachel Carson, and then the next important date is the Earth Day. I request all of you to, particularly the Senator Gaylord and his student from Harvard Law School, together a two-man army which changed the world forever. For the first time, they organized the Earth Day, and two people organizing at a time when there was no internet, 1970. You can imagine their difficulties, under what conditions they worked, but yet look at the success. In more than 200 cities across all the continents of the world, 2 million people came onto the roads to declare their support to the planet Earth. That was, and looking at that kind of response, then the UN entered. It was just till then it was wavering, thinking, karenge, kuch to bhi karenge, that kind of approach. But then when they found that the civil society at the global level had awoken, and they were very particular on this very important issue of protecting the planet Earth, UN then took up and it organized the most important, the first event was 1972, United Nations Conference on Human Environment, which was organized in Stockholm. And then it was attended by Mrs. Indira Gandhi, I request all of you to note. And she was the only elected head of the government to have attended that particular conference. The credit, and immediately thereafter, she came up with a series of environmental legislations like the Water Act, Air Act, and after the Bhopal gas disaster, Environment Act. But then the ball stopped after that, the ball of change, the ball which was set into motion after the Stockholm conference. It came to a grinding halt. And this country which should have set up Environment Protection Authority, it has not done it. And the people also don't bother. None of the youngsters ever articulate, why can't you call for a bandh? All the colleges in Hyderabad, all the universities, a bandh call and demand, we want an Environment Protection Authority which should be autonomous and all powerful. Why should you? Dantla mohamatam emundi? When your future is at end, ma future అయిపోయింది, మాకు only past ఉంది. Okay, we go further. But one certain good things happened after 1972. The academic world in the US and Europe, they immediately caught up with the subject of environment, and almost in a large number of universities in Europe and America, departments on environment were set up, PhD programs announced, recruitment of professors took place, and several research programs were taken up. That particular period, I request all the youngsters from 1972 to 1982. That was the period when this subject of environment, మూడు పూలు ఆరు కాయలు అన్నట్టుగా, it developed like anything. Hundreds and thousands of articles published, hundreds of books published, hundreds of PhDs done. And the whole world was discussing nothing but environment. Because by then it was known that the ozone layer was getting depleted. And that was a big scare in Canada, America, and also Europe. It was that scare which drove them to do more and more research. Now, looking at the response of the academic community, then UN did the greatest service to humanity by commissioning a commission. And the name of that commission is, they set up this commission, WCED, World Commission on Environment and Development, which was headed by Mrs. Gro Harlem Brundtland. And this came into being in 1983. It worked for 4 years. 1987, they submitted the report, which was published in the form of a book, Our Common Future. And that book was circulated throughout the world to all the governments, political parties, bureaucrats, universities, and environmental activists. That it is that particular book which talks about the 5 major challenges faced by the planet Earth. And with this I stop. I don't want to go into all the details, but it's important to say that apart from the depletion of the ozone layer, which I already pointed out, it was global warming leading to climate change. The third was the loss of biodiversity. Fourth is spreading desertization. And the fifth is the danger posed by nuclear reactors and nuclear bombs. Friends, today we are dealing with the second identified problem, and that is global warming leading to climate change. Now, I am not going into the chemistry of all that, but it's important, just a few observations. I request all of us, all the youngsters, to be conscious of the increasing accumulation of greenhouse gases. And here the first is CO2, then followed by methane and nitrous oxide and so on. Now, why the crisis? Because we human beings, after particularly in Europe and America, we developed a psyche of exploitation. We started exploiting the natural resources. And with that, we industrialized. Industrial revolution is an outcome of that. And that led to colonialism. And that led to a kind of imperialism of technology, industry. We go a little further. What happened at Rio is they established United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, popularly known as UNFCCC. And under the aegis of this particular organization, umbrella organization, conferences of parties on climate change, that is COP. Now, parties ante all those countries which were party to the UNFCCC creation. That is all the nation states, almost everybody. And the COP started meeting. The first one was in Berlin. Soon after, we had the Kyoto Protocol. And finally, 2015, it was Paris. In between, almost every year there was one, except during the COVID period. Now, there is a consensus, believe me. What is the benefit of these global conferences? It's not a joke, when the whole world is discussing one single point. And to assist this UNFCCC, you have IPCC. What is IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change? It's basically a synergy of environmental scientists, climate scientists working in different countries and universities and research labs. So this IPCC, it has come up with 6 reports. For all the youngsters, I'm telling you, it's very important, because whatever competition exam you are going to attend, there will be questions on IPCC reports. And for you youngsters, I request all of you to please follow the synthesis report. It is just about 12.5 minutes, which is there in YouTube, and excellent communication. I'm not agreeing with the conclusions, but it's important that we understand. There, the stand taken by the synthesis report is, first of all, they explain why the crisis, or where the path went wrong. Then what are the consequences? And finally, what needs to be done? It's as simple as that. Now, why the crisis or where the path went wrong? It is nothing but the kind of life, all the nations of the world, particularly the corporate class, the capitalist class, with in their hurry to conquer, to become the richest of the rich, competition among them, they stooped down and several compromises were made, and that is, they started using the natural resources without ever understanding the environmental implications of such usage. As a result, there was a hurry to burn the coal, oil, natural gas, and as a result, we see increasing accumulation of CO2 in the atmosphere. Friends, I request all of you to please listen to the speeches of Al Gore. Earlier, I took his speeches very lightly, but I am convinced that he is one of the greatest articulate personalities when it comes to global warming. And his very famous quotation is that we are all using the atmosphere as if it is the open sewer. ఏదాంట్లో మనం CO2 పంపొచ్చు, ఇంకేదైనా పంపొచ్చు, there ends the matter. But let us realize that it's not going to be so. And the more the CO2 in the air, the greater the temperature trapped. And that is how, because CO2 is a gas which allows sunlight but traps the heat nearer the surface of the earth. Okay. What is happening as a result of this? Increasing accumulation leading to increasing temperatures, leading to increasing melt of ice near the North and South Pole and on the mountain tops. And that has its own bearing apart from the rise in the sea level. But I am not oversimplifying, I am only saying that there are several other critical areas. And as a result of this global warming, the climate is changing, but nobody has yet been able to come up with a pattern of climate change. However, indications are that this is resulting in extreme weather events. We see fires in Australia, Canada, in Greece, and so many other countries, including America. Forest fires. We see temperatures manifesting. My friends from Texas and Houston, they have been calling 50 degrees in Texas. Not only that, in Canada, in all the colder regions of the planet Earth, we see the rising temperatures. And now the bigger danger is, as per that particular report, the ice in the Arctic is on a melting spree. And you youngsters, you are going to witness another 10 years down the line, you are going to witness an ice-free, at least for a few days in September. What, 10 years down the line? 2033, come September, and there won't be ice there. What does it mean? If the ice is there, at least it would reflect back. But now the entire, solar, it will be absorbed, and that will leads to even quicker warming. And that has its own bearing. I am not going into all the details, but I request each one of you to please follow. In addition to this, we human beings, Homo sapiens, who are highly selfish, self-centered, and we don't want to compromise, each one trying to live a more comfortable life at the cost of others. What are we doing? We are poisoning the oceans. All the industrial effluents and the sewage of all the cities in the entire world, that is reaching the ocean. And that is resulting in its acidification. In addition to that, even the CO2 and other greenhouse gases that are let into the atmosphere, they are absorbed by the land and the ocean. And you are going to be a great witness to the reduced functioning of the oceans and the land as carbon sinks in the days to come. Friends, apart from this, because of these and several other, including accumulation of plastics and other chemical reactions that are taking place, the ocean's holding capacity of oxygen is getting reduced. And that means that all the oceans are going to turn into biological deserts. And it will have a tremendous bearing on the food security of the entire world. Okay, friends, these and several other, what we call even one of the important thing, what the report says, that the distance between the tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, what we have created as a hot area, or that space is going to increase. In other words, there will be a very fast movement of the rising temperatures, a warmer area towards the North Pole, similarly South Pole. And that will have its bearing on the tundras, entire Siberia and Canada, Greenland, and that will result in release of methane. It's all chemistry, but that's going to happen. And what are we doing? We, Gauravnilana Manam. Em chestunnam? There is not a thing. We protest on small little things. But here everybody's identity is endangered and we don't bother. So I wish to point out, the next phase will be that I'm not going into the need for renewables, and all possible solutions are there. The world is already moving, corporate world is moving in the direction. Solar and wind energy already picked up like anything. It's happening. But on the political front, something is happening I wish to bring to your notice, and that is my student, Mr. Harsha, who is studying in London School of Economics. He has sent me a lot of information regarding, there is one library there, and the name of the library is Grantham Research Institute on Climate Change and the Environment. And this was established in association with IPU, Inter-Parliamentary Union, and it has so far tracked 300 laws and policies, 300 laws and policies. I request all of you, there are only 200 countries in the world, but when we are talking about, 3,000 laws and policies, 3,000 laws and policies means that all the local governments, the city-states, the cities of America, Europe, and the counties, the small and the big towns in most of the developed world, they are responding, and locally they are taking all precautions and coming up with legislation, rules and regulations, the way they handle with garbage or sewage, or regulating the burning of fossil fuels. So many things are happening. That is a welcome sign. But what's happening in our country? Local governments are suppressed in spite of 73rd, 74th Amendment. What is the big protection we are giving? We don't even raise our single finger when it comes to GHMC and its helpless position. GHMC cannot appoint its own municipal commissioner, police commissioner, or the Director General of Fire Services. Everything is controlled by the state government, and it doesn't, in other words, I'm putting it very plainly, that all the state governments in this country, they are not allowing the local governments to breathe. I'm using that word which was used in America, where a white policeman was crushing the throat of the neck of a black American. That is exactly what is happening here. We have local governments, the entire wonderful, beautiful Panchayat Raj system for which India was famous, but today, Naam ke vaste it is there, but it is not allowed. And we, all of us highly educated, we are there in urban areas. We don't bother, we don't take. So, I have taken a few initiatives along with my young friends. I've been giving a lot of lectures in law colleges, and we are planning, we are drafting a legislation which will be submitted to Parliament, and with the help of independent members of Parliament or even political party MPs, we wish to submit a private member bill. Of course, the bill will be in their name. It is known as the private member bill. At least it will have educative value, and maybe it will act as an impetus for the ruling parties to take up. That's not the only thing. We need to come up with, there's a beautiful concept known as environmental justice, and here, for all the benefit of all the youngsters, I request, please read a book, Dumping in Dexy. Dexy is a slang in English language meaning the South, where the poor and the black live in America to a great extent. And that particular book, written by Robert Bullard, who is known as the father of environmental justice in America. I request all the youngsters to follow. We are also, you have a right, why don't you file a public interest litigation? It is your future which is endangered for the advancement of a few corporates in this country. ఎందుకు మొహమాటం ఎందుకు పడుతున్నా నాకు అర్థం కాదు. డోంట్ యూ వాంట్ టు సెక్యూర్ యువర్ ఫ్యూచర్? యు ఆర్ ఆల్ మేజర్స్, యు ఆర్ హ్యావింగ్ రైట్ టు ఓట్. You file a PIL, your draft will help you. Earlier we have helped our Mufakkam Jar students to file on what is known as Musi. Mr. Naeem and Aftab, they filed, we guided them, and they got excellent orders. Similarly, in Symbiosis, we helped them to file on this garbage dump yard at Jawahar Nagar. A seminar like this should compulsorily discuss academically, understand, but then we should be pioneers in the way forward. Because if we don't move, who else? There is only one engineering staff college of India, as rightly pointed out by Dr. Rameshwar Garu. And the people who have gathered here, we should be moving. We need to become trendsetters. Okay? So with these few words, there are a lot of things, but my submission is that several countries have taken already initiative. In America, the Inflation Reduction Act, that's doing wonders. But even UK, the first climate change legislation was enacted. 6 other countries have taken the lead, and let India not lag behind. We are attending all the conferences of parties, but we are not doing what we are supposed to do. This country does not have EPA, Environment Protection Authority. It's an insult. I don't know with what face our people attend conferences of parties, but at least we youngsters, particularly the youngsters of Hyderabad, we need to throw light on this and show this country a way. Thank you very much. I'm grateful to Professor Narasimha Reddy and also to Professor D.V. Reddy for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you very much.